20 past 4, you're on Drive. We're driving you home, and we're about to talk cricket now with Matty Arrowsmith, and we'll talk about this Ashes squad for the Aussies. A very good afternoon to you, Matt.
Hello, boys. How you going?
Yeah, really well, thanks. Your initial reaction to the Ashes team. Certainly a lot of chat around Jake Weatherall. Do you think they've made the right decision here, the selectors?
Yeah, I think so. I'm glad they've given him an opportunity. We like to see players rewarded off Shield runs. He scored over 900 runs last year in the Shield season. I think it's a good selection. It just remains to be seen whether he plays in the first test or not. So, yeah, we'll wait and see what happens there.
Mitch Marsh, a little bit of discussion around him this morning, and, of course, Sam Constas as well. Let's just start with the latter. Sam Constas, his omission, and plenty of talk about him and funny little quips from George Bailey. But your initial thoughts of his omission?
Yeah, I'm not surprised. He struggled over there in the West Indies and then made a couple of scores at Australia A 100 and then 100 before the season began in the Shield and then a couple of half centuries. So he was still in the mix. Unfortunately, I just think there's been a few guys that have been making runs a bit more consistently than Sam. So I think that probably is why he misses out. But he's still very young. He'll go away, work on his game, and I'm sure he'll make a return at some point. He's far too talented not to be in the mix, and he could even be called upon later in the series if required.
Okay, can you line up how this side is going to look for the first test over here?
Yeah, there's essentially two options. It just depends if they want to go with Green and Webster, which is probably dependent on whether Cam Green can bowl enough overs or not. If he can't, then you'd imagine they'll probably still play Green, and they'll probably play Webster as well, and Green will go further up the order, which would mean that Marnus would have to open the batting. I personally hope that doesn't happen. I think the balance is far better with Marnus at 3, Smith at 4 and Head at 5, but they'll want to be getting Green in there no matter what. I personally would be playing just whichever one can bowl the most overs for the pace bowlers to get a bit of a rest. So if that's Webster, then go with him. If it's Green, go with him. But it's going to be interesting to see what they do, but it'll be either Marnus or Weatherall opening with Usman Khawaja in the first test.
Brendan Doggett into this side as well. Plenty of talk around him on social media today. Tell us a little bit about this South Aussie.
Yeah, he's a good bowler. He's been around the squad for a little while now and then really helped himself by going well in that last Shield game. He took a 6 for there against Western Australia here at the WACA. He bowled superbly, so certainly has helped himself by bowling well in that first Shield return because he was injured the last couple of matches, but just come straight back out and really struck with the ball for South Australia.
Mitch Marsh out of this Test squad and has been for a little while now. Do you think his time at Test level is over?
I did think it was, and then even you heard his comments after some white ball matches where he's saying, I'll be drinking beers by halfway through the first session in the first test, and then it sort of came, maybe he's a chance, maybe he's a bolter. It could be one where they pull the trigger on him and he opens the batting or comes in, and then you heard Bailey today and he sort of just laughed it off like he wasn't even a chance, but I guess maybe that could be to throw the English off even maybe. They're trying to save him there if they need him. I imagine he'd be break glass in case of emergency sort of option, and if they don't use him this series, which is a low chance, that's probably it for him. Focus on white ball cricket. He's the captain there now, plays a lot of it and does a very good job.
Well, you mentioned those comments by George Bailey on Mitch Marsh. Let's have a listen to them.
That was a tricky one. We went to the ICC, and the issue was there that they wouldn't let the umpires take breathalyzers out onto the... And so if he was going to be 6 or 8 beers deep by the time the first ball was bowled, it was going to make it tricky.
But was he close to do? I mean, there was.
Yeah, he is. No, I think.
Did you toy with it? Yeah.
No, not toy with it. It's a discussion. I think everything that's been sort of said about it, it holds true. I think he's got a game that could provide an injection, a different look at how you might attack it. It's not the path we're going down to start the series. What it looks like later on, we'll see.
Watch that closely over the next couple of weeks and further into the summer. Cam Bancroft as well, a little bit more discussion around him lately with that Shield 100 last week and then the 50 in the second innings, but it still feels as though he's a long way off being included into the squad again, doesn't it, Matty?
Yeah, it certainly I've got my fingers crossed. I'd love to see Bancroft get an opportunity, but yeah, as you say, a long way off, and I can't see it happening. Maybe if he piles on, another 400 or 500 back to back to back. You never know, but at this stage, he's a long way away. But you just never know. If you can pile on some runs, you could be back in the picture pretty quickly.
So this resurgent Marnus Labuschagne, is he putting himself into a position now where he could become almost one of the most important players in this team if he gets back into that Marnus form?
Oh, definitely. He's looked phenomenal in the Shield games and in the One Day Cup. He just looks back to his best, and if he can recapture it at international level, not only will he be one of the most important batsmen for the Aussies, he'll be probably back to one of the best batsmen in the world. We know he's been number one in the world before for the best batsman, so you'd imagine his aim would be to get back to there, and if he's scoring runs in Australia, winning games, he won't be far off.
This market at the moment has Australia $1.64, the draw $9.50, $2.85. This is for that first test match here in Perth. I feel like that market has just closed in a little bit. And as for the series, at the moment, Australia $1.55, England $3.25, the draw $8.75. Is that market closing in just due to the fact of the uncertainties of the top order for Australia still, and with some slight injury concerns?
I think you're probably right, and also once you get to nearly the start of the Ashes, everyone's just go, could England do it? Could they? But I don't think they will. I think they'll be more competitive. The last team they brought out here were really terrible, to be honest. They didn't show much. They didn't win a game. They haven't won a game here since 2010-11. So it's been a long time. I guess from an England point of view, you want to see them be competitive, which is great for England fans because at least they've got something to hope for when you're coming from ground zero. So maybe they can show something, but I don't think they can win the series. I think Australia will be too strong, but who knows? Maybe they'll prove us all wrong.
Did I see in the West today, captain's already in town for England? Is that right?
Yeah, there's a few players in town for England. A few of them arrived. Jofra Archer's here, Mark Wood. They're two of the guys that are going to be massively important for the England cricket team.
Stokes.
Those pace bowlers. And Stokes, he's here too. So there's plenty of them arriving. The rest of them are still just wrapping up in New Zealand in an ODI series before they jet across here to Perth.
So the importance of those two bowlers you just mentioned about for England to be able to be fit and bowling as fast as they can for as many tests as they can will go a long way to winning or deciding who wins this Ashes series?
Oh, definitely, because a lot of the bowlers that they've had over here in the past, besides maybe Mark, would have been, I guess, pedestrian compared to what the Aussies are facing. So guys like Jofra Archer, Mark Wood, Gus Atkinson, they're going to be vital. If they're fit and bowling and going well, you'd imagine that England are in the game. I think it'll be interesting to see how England go about selecting those guys, how many they play all at once, whether they go hell for leather in the first two tests, which I think they probably should, because if they can get a test or two in the first couple, have a win and get themselves ahead of the series, that's probably their best chance. So I'd be playing them if they're fit and just going with it and see what happens.
Retrovision text line 0427 789 571 if you've got a question for Matty Arrowsmith. We've heard Steve Waugh deliver some criticism of the selectors for Australia in terms of maybe not progressing this test team quickly enough. George Bailey responded. Here's both those responses, both comments from both those gentlemen, courtesy of Fox Cricket.
Well, George Bailey's going to have to make some tough calls, and I think in the past he's shown that he hasn't really had the appetite for that at times. So he's going to have to step up to the plate with the other selectors, because it is a time of transition. The bowlers are in their sort of 30s and some of the batsmen are getting on as well.
We're aware of the age profile of the team. I'm interested when people sort of have that view as to who would they like us to leave Nathan Lyon and Mitch Starc out. Is it just because of their age, or is that... But I think there's other ways of attacking that. Again, we're investing heavily into Australia A cricket. We're rolling some young guys through. There's been debuts. There's been people on tours. That will happen. But I think you have to have respect for the fact that these guys work incredibly hard to play Test cricket. We see it as still the sort of pinnacle format, and so I think you've got to give due respect that the guys are performing very well. And they earn the right to be selected. But no, I'm not sure the players pick it. I'm sure there'll be more names on that list if the players were able to pick it.
What do you make of both those sets of comments, Matty?
Yeah, pretty interesting. I get what they're saying about the older guys and such, but it's different to a game like Aussie rules. I just think in terms of international cricket for Australia, you just pick whoever the best 11 is possible, whoever that is, whether they're 18 or 38. I think you just pick them and put them in. If they're the best guy for the job, just get them in that 11. But I can see where Steve Waugh's coming from, and I think there's always tough decisions as Australian selectors, but I just think whoever's the best for the match or whoever they're playing or the situation, I think they should pick them regardless of age.
Matty, much appreciate your time here on Wednesday Drive. Always good to pick your brain about all things cricket. All the best this weekend, and we'll catch up with you soon.
Thanks, boys.